A team that was near the top of the standings last year, Auburn, returns a ton of position players. Have some young pitchers returning as well. You got to see them at Kennesaw. Eager to hear what you think of the Tigers.
Yeah, a couple things there that come to mind. First is one is that Auburn is a particularly tough matchup for what Kennesaw is on the mound for Kennesaw. And what I mean by that is Kennesaw, their coaching staff does a really good job finding kind of raw talents. Their coaching staff, Kennesaw, has a scouting background. Ryan Coe, Matthew Passauer, like that stat, they come from scouting. And so they always have like these raw talents, but a lot of times how that gets presented on the mound is like dudes that have good stuff, but kind of spray it around, or, you know, guys that have like a real good fastball, but the off-speed stuff is a little bit, you know, a little bit questionable. And Auburn will just eat your lunch if you're that kind of team, with the position players they have, because they've combined guys who are really, really mature right away, like Chris Rimbert, with this group of transfers that are, for the most part, like older guys who have been around and that are really mature hitters, like Todd Clay, right? Yeah. Just to name two. But so that was definitely on display. They were taking their walks, they were working counts, they just wore out Kennesaw's pitching. The run totals weren't crazy, but it was just like a lot of base runners, like from the very beginning. There was like almost no clean innings for Kennesaw. So that stood out, because I think that's just going to be what Auburn is offensively. I was intrigued by Eric Guevara at shortstop. Yeah. Speaking of, of shortstop players moving around, another third base to shortstop transition. And the big thing with Guevara, of course, is health, and we can't predict that. He's just struggled so much with injury in his time at Auburn. And every time he's in there, he's a difference maker. But it's just, he's struggled to stay in there for any period of time. He didn't really get challenged at shortstop a lot in this look, so I don't really have like big takes about that necessarily, but it will be something to watch, his transition there. And part of the reason he is transitioning is because the aforementioned Todd Clay is in at third base, UAB transfer, big, strong guy. He hit a home run that went onto a building behind the left field wall against Kennesaw, was just absolutely crushed. And so, I like the lineup. And how could you not, when you start from the starting point that Auburn has with all those young players, and you add to it a group of transfers on top of that, how could you not like that position player group? It's different than what we talked about with South Carolina, where South Carolina is just throwing numbers of transfers at you. Auburn kind of has like these returning all SEC type of players, and it's kind of sprinkling the transfers on top, as opposed to it being the whole thing. So came away impressed with that piece of it. And I'm you were have given plenty of thought to Auburn, so I'm sure I'm kind of curious what you make of that position player group as well.
Yeah, I think what does shortstop look like? Is it Ryan Farber from Texas State, the transfer? Is Guevara going to end up there, or some combination, right? And then at first base, Eddie Madrigal's been injured. Is Brandon McCrane there? Is it somebody else? I mean, I don't really know what that's going to look like. And then the outfield, I mean, it's crowded, man. I mean, with Bub Terrell, Bristol Carter, Cade Ballou, Rembert could play out there. McCrane could play out there. What do you do with Lucas Steele? Is he the full-time DH, or is he out in the outfield? It's one of those position groups that it's a recurring theme, it seems, that have more starter quality players than they have spots to play them. And that's going to be fascinating to see how that shakes out. Interested to get your thoughts on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and frankly, like one of the guys that feels like he's kind of elbowing his way into an already crowded situation is Ethan Benjamin, the freshman two-way guy. Yeah. He pitched in the first, there were 2 7-inning games. He pitched in the first one, looked great. We can talk about that in a little bit. But then in the second one comes in, he starts in right field. He moves well out there, chased a ball down the line and, had to deal with, navigating the wall, the the wall past the foul line, try to deal with all that, like hit a home run in that second 7-inning game. And he reminds me, like, he's not this big strapping guy, but he's like, you know, in when you're playing ball growing up, you know, there's always like I feel like every little league team had a guy who's just like not the biggest guy around, but was just like a baller, you know, maybe not the toolsiest guy, but just was a really good ball player. And
Gets
Ethan
it.
Benjamin
Right.
kind of gives me that vibe. And the stuff is good on the mound. The stuff is good too. So it's not like, I'm not saying he's like an under talented, you know, no hoper. Like the dude is clearly very talented, but he just strikes me as a very good baseball player, more so than what his tools might suggest. So was really impressed with him as a two-way guy. And maybe the fact that they started him in that second 7-inning game, like, you don't want to read too much into it, but given that he pitched in the first half of that, it'd been real easy to just be like, no, let's just leave it for now, you know, and not play him in the field. And they did. So I think that maybe means something, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, Auburn's not afraid to play freshmen, as we saw last year. So I would think he's going to get his opportunities. And if he plays well, I know it's crowded, but yeah, he would be somebody to watch. Really fascinated to hear what you thought of them on the mound. It's a group that returns quite a bit from last year, but there's also some holes because they lost some key guys too. What did you see? What do you still need to see?
So what I saw was that they are loaded with what I would call really solid starting pitching options. You know, we talked about Ethan Benjamin. He was 90-93, hammer breaking ball through multiple innings. I don't know if he closed that or regardless. There was a lot of baseball happening. So I forget who threw what and when, but looked really good with his repertoire. Then you've got, you know, we're talking about Griffin Graves, who started the first game, who's a guy that we haven't seen a ton of.
Yeah.
Another not the biggest guy in the world type of pitcher, but you know, he'll get it up to 93, 94, but really knows what he's doing, can really pitch it. You've got Christian Chatterton, we've got Andreas Alvarez, you've got Drew Whalen from Western Kentucky, you've got Jake Marciano from Virginia Tech. All of those guys got more or less treated as starters in this Kennesaw scrimmage, throwing multiple innings, like full repertoires on display, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's that eternal question we've beaten to death about Auburn, which is this: if you started the season tomorrow, I'm not sure who of this group is your Friday guy. And there are a lot of good options here that I think would be perfectly reasonable Friday guys. But like, is there a guy here that, I mean, we saw it last postseason, right? Where it's like when their Friday guys got matched up with Jacob Morrison and or Cam Flukie or even Riley Eichhoff, like, it was just tough. And that happens in the SEC every weekend, and they navigated it well and have navigated it well the last several years, not having a Casey Mize, Tanner Burns type of, you know, Friday guy.
Right.
You don't have to have one that good, but from this group, is there one of those? And I don't know, but from my look against Kennesaw, like, no one leapt off the page like that. You know, they all threw well. They all have good stuff. It's a lot of low mid-90s fastballs. It's a lot of good, you know, good solid repertoires, well-rounded repertoires. And I trust that they're going to get that coaching staff with Butch in particular is going to wring every last drop of what they can get out of them. But, you know, do they have a dude? And maybe they do, and we just haven't seen it yet. But that's still just going to be the question going into the season.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing there is they might be behind the curve on Friday and maybe ahead of it on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like you could, you know, if this is the way the pitching staff plays out, and I don't want to sell the two of us as experts here, like we're just spitballing, but you could see a scenario where it's almost like you obviously have to pay attention to things like rest and stuff like that, but you could like play matchups with your rotation more so than like having a Friday guy, a Saturday guy, and a Sunday guy. You know, you might be able to move guys around a little bit based on how you think certain guys will play off of lineups. But
and you have enough of them that you could go 3-3-3 if you wanted to, and not have not have guys stretched out multiple times through the lineup, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Was there anybody that really caught your eye, that maybe you weren't expecting? And that could be position or pitcher.
On the mound, I mentioned it earlier, but on the mound was Griffin Graves,
Hmm.
and because one is I'd seen him pitch before, but he just didn't make a big impression because
He
he
had a
hadn't had a
great
real.
super regional appearance. I mean, he against Coastal. I mean, he was that was really his coming out party. I mean, he was good.
His stuff he pitched 3 innings. His stuff got better every inning. Was what was
Hmm.
interesting to me. It was like a like a diesel engine. Like it took a minute to get it going. And then
Yeah.
but once it really got going, it really got going. And so he was the one who stood out to me because it feels so Auburn if like Griffin Graves is just like a real important piece of it this
Hmm.
coming year because he's a guy who's been in the program, who got a little taste, has had
Hmm.
maybe a moment. You mentioned the super regional appearance, like
Yeah.
he's had a moment, and now all of a sudden it's like okay, now he's ready for like this big role. It would just be
Hmm.
so Auburn, so often
Yeah.
I think we get enamored, and I'm guilty of this as anybody else. You get really enamored with the guy that shows up on campus and just makes that immediate, like a Liam Peterson, right? Like
Hmm.
we've been enamored of him for a couple of years because he got on campus. We heard about how good he was going to be. And then by golly, it
Yeah.
hasn't been perfect, but by golly, the stuff was there from day one.
Right.
And he's been in the weekend rotation from day one. And so it sometimes it's easy to overlook guys who are more of those developmental pieces. And Auburn
Hmm.
just does. We have so many examples in recent years of the fact that Auburn just does this a little bit differently when it comes to their pitchers. And sometimes they're going to have Tommy Vale as their
Hmm.
Friday guy, and they're still going to manage to be a really good team when they do that. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't trust every SEC program to do that same kind of thing. So it speaks highly of what they're able to do, from a pitching development standpoint. So that's my long-winded answer is
Yeah.
Griffin Graves because it just, I think, typifies a type of development story that Auburn tells,
Hmm.
as good as or maybe better than anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff.